Hello everybody, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to rebuild the carburetor, replace the timing chain, and set the points on this 1985 XL100. Regardless of which video you're watching, the first steps you'll need to do are the same. You'll have to remove the seat, and you'll have to remove the side cover, and you'll have to loosen the fuel tank. So after removing the seat and loosening the tank, the next thing you have to do is remove these screws to get access to the flywheel. So after removing the side cover, the next thing you have to do is you should remove the fuel line that leads to the carburetor so you can completely lift off the fuel tank, because you'll need to get access to some other things. Now that the tank is removed, you should remove these two bolts that hold this coil in place. You should also remove these cables and take them out so you can free this completely. So you'll need to get access to the camshaft, so you'll have to remove these two 10mm bolts on the valve cover. To get access to the lower part of the timing chain, you'll have to remove this 17mm nut. To do that, I recommend either using an impact gun, or you can try holding the flywheel still with the wrench hanging off of it and hit it with a hammer. So after you remove that nut, you'll have to thread in the flywheel puller. It is reverse thread, so it goes on this way instead of the usual clockwise. So after you've removed the flywheel, the next thing to get access to the chain sprocket on the lower part, you have to remove the alternator. So you have to unplug it from the harness, and then you'll have to remove these three screws. Okay, so after you remove the flywheel that just pulls out, you'll be greeted with this. This is the bottom of the chain where it wraps around the crankshaft. And this is the top of the chain that I'm trying to replace. So the next thing you should do is remove these two bolts, and that will make the gear that is fastened to the crankshaft just slide off. Okay, so once you remove those two bolts, you'll have to pull the gear out. I suggest actually moving the chain tensioner back from whatever setting you had it in. So I have fished the new chain through, and so how I did that is, the first thing I did was that I removed the chain from the sprocket, and I completely removed the sprocket. It's possible to do that without dropping it into the case. And then I gave this chain a ton of slack without dropping it. And then you can see here that at the bottom, this chain is very slack here. So what you do is you take a magnet on a stick, and if you put it in the correct orientation, it is possible to pull this chain out through the bottom just using a magnet on the stick. So once you have the old chain pulled out through the bottom, you do the same thing in reverse with the new chain. Now how you pull it up is the different story. You have to first you fish a wire through the top, and you have it poking down at the bottom, and once you get it pulled out, you wrap it around a chain like this, and you kind of start it, you wrap the chain around like this, this would be one leg of it, this would be the other. You wrap it around like that, and then you start pulling it up, and these will eventually work their way in around the sprocket, and then you'll have it like this, and you're ready to start timing it. The most difficult part is actually getting the engine in time. So what you have to do is you point this arrow on the engine case. You have to keep that pointed to that, and at that moment these screw holes should be level with the edge of the sealing surface of the head, like you see here, and that dot should be at the 12 o'clock position So the first part that's really difficult is that this does not want to stay at that position. So what I did was that I used a hook and I put it in this cover right here and adjusted it so that it would point to the timing mark without me having to hold it there. Now, the next thing is that you have to get the sprocket on. You have to first you have to get the cam, the screw holes in the cam aligned level too. And then you slip this sprocket around the chain. That's difficult because there's not enough clearance. If you have the chain together like this when you're doing it, you have to have it spread apart when you slip the sprocket in, because you can't fit the chain in this gap once the sprocket's there. So it needs to start out like that, and you need to slip the sprocket in between them, in between the legs of the chain. So once you do, and then from there you have another challenge. You can't actually put the bolts that hold the sprocket to the cam in when it's in the position that they tell you to put it in, because this blocks the access to the bolt. So you have to rotate the cam itself, and the way you do that is you rotate the cam first, and then holding this, you make sure the chain is engaged with the gear on the crank so that you don't jump time accidentally. You have to turn this so that it matches the amount that you rotated the cam by, so that you'll have access to that bolt hole. And then once you do that, once you fit one, it's pretty simple to just, turn it and fit the other. And that's what I did. So now that I've done that, I'm going to start doing the valve clearance. So you again have to align it with that T mark to do the valves. The spec for both the exhaust and the intake is 0.05 millimeters. So I'm going to do that right now. Alright, so one more note that I forgot to say is that when you're doing the valves, when you touch the exhaust valve, it should make that rocking sound. It should have a little bit of movement. If it doesn't do that, if it's firm, rotate the flywheel 360 degrees around. You're not on the right stroke, basically. It says that in the owner's manual if you're following that. I thought I'd mention that. And the way you'd be measuring the valve clearance is you're using feeler gauge. It's pretty similar to any other valve adjustment that uses this kind of adjustment, so I'm not going to go over that. Alright, I'm done adjusting the valves on this engine and I'm about to put it back together. Just want to remind you that if you're following along, you should make sure that you have your chain tensioner adjusted so you don't have any tragedies occur. And also make sure that you didn't leave anything in the engine that's not supposed to be there, if that's even possible. But I'm going to be putting the cover back on, and then I will be adjusting the points. If you wish to see how that's done, I will publish it as a separate video, but I will put a link in the description if you want to see that. So thanks for watching and goodbye. Alright, bonus footage. I wanted to show that after all the work I did the bike runs anyways, so. Alright, thanks for watching.